Be delusional, not realistic, not logical, not practical. Delusional, because the world is desperate to chain you to its limits. It tells you, stay grounded, stop dreaming, play safe. But what is safety except another name for surrender? What is being realistic but abandoning the fire before it has a chance to roar? They want you predictable, they want you contained, they want you average. And when you dare to break free, when you dare to imagine more, they point, they laugh, they label you insane. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. Every warrior, every conqueror, every leader of men was first called delusional. Madmen, dreamers, outcasts, until reality bent beneath their will and suddenly the madness looked like vision. So be delusional enough to ignore their whispers. Be delusional enough to believe the impossible, because history only remembers those who dared to believe too much.
Reality says, you're too small. Delusion says, I'll shatter giants with my bare hands. Reality says, the odds are impossible. Delusion roars, perfect. Reality says, you're weak. Delusion smirks, watch me rise. Every fight worth winning begins in this gap between what's real and what you believe. Every empire ever built was once a fantasy too big for the human mind. Every blade sharpened for war was once a thought, a whisper, a what if. So let them laugh at you. Good. Let them call you insane. Better. It means you're standing where warriors stand, at the edge of reason, staring into the impossible, and saying with fire in your chest, I'll make it mine, even if it kills me.
Delusion is not blindness, it's vision. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about refusing to be ruled by it. It's seeing the future while everyone else is trapped in the present. It's sketching castles in the sand long before stone is ever carved. Every rep you grind, every brick you lay, every lonely night you endure, that's not madness. That's architecture, the scaffolding of a world only you can see. And while the crowd shakes its head, muttering, "Fool," you are methodically, patiently, stubbornly laying the foundations of destiny. They think you're confused, but you're not confused. You're precise. You know the cost, you know the toll, you know the weight, and still you walk forward into the fire. That is not madness. That is mastery disguised as delusion.
They'll mock you. Perfect. They'll doubt you. Good. They'll whisper, you're delusional. Excellent. Because it means your dream is so far beyond their comprehension that the only way they can react is with laughter. They can't measure your ambition, so they reduce it to a joke. They can't touch your vision, so they dismiss it as fantasy. But here's the secret. That's proof. Proof you're not playing on their level. Proof you've left the realm of average and are reaching into something untouchable. So let them laugh. Let them whisper. Let them shake their heads. You don't need them to understand. You need them to remember your name when the impossible becomes inevitable.
Most people don't fail. They quit before they even begin. They kneel to reality before throwing a single punch. They accept chains they were strong enough to break, and they call it wisdom. But wisdom without courage is cowardice, and comfort dressed as realism is still surrender. You are delusional enough to defy it, delusional enough to keep standing when logic says collapse, delusional enough to keep swinging when the scoreboard says stop, delusional enough to keep building when the world says give up. That's why you will win, because in the end, victory belongs not to the smartest, not to the strongest, but to the one delusional enough to endure when all others bow.
You think greatness comes without pain? No. You think victory comes without scars? No. Every champion you admire was forged in rejection, ridicule, failure. They were laughed at before they were respected. They were mocked before they were feared. That is the rite of passage. That is the blood tax every warrior pays. You want strength, you want power, you want immortality. Then understand this. The toll is suffering. The toll is nights alone, lungs burning, bones aching, vision spinning. The toll is rejection after rejection until your heart feels carved to pieces. The toll is silence when no one believes but you. And that silence, that suffering, that fire, it will either break you or it will baptize you in pain until you rise unrecognizable.
Delusion is your shield. When the world spits doubt in your face, when your results aren't showing yet, when your body trembles and your breath cuts short, delusion steadies your hands. It whispers, storms pass, wounds heal, doubters vanish. But the empire you're building will remain. Delusion lets you walk into the dark with nothing but faith and still move with confidence. It is armor against despair, a compass through chaos. Every conqueror carried this shield. Every visionary leaned on this crutch, not because they were blind, but because they saw further than the crowd. And they endured long enough for the crowd to finally see what they had seen all along.
Realism is fear in disguise. It's the excuse people use to justify staying small. I'm just being realistic. Translation, I'm just afraid. I'm not meant for more. Translation, I quit before I tried. But you are not here for realism. You are here for revolution. You are here to live loud, to live bold, to live in defiance of every average whisper. Realistic is quitting before the war even begins. So be unrealistic, be unreasonable, be unshakable. Be the one too stubborn to quit, too delusional to bow, too obsessed to stop, because those are the ones who carve their names into eternity.
Here's the cycle. First they doubt you, then they laugh at you, then they ignore you, and finally, they beg to stand beside you. That's the rhythm of every legend. And right now you are in the early chapters, the lonely chapters. The chapters where you look insane, obsessed, out of touch. The chapters where your fire burns unseen, where your nights stretch endless, where every morning you wake up and wonder if you're mad to keep going. But understand this, the silence is not your curse. The ridicule is not your weakness. They are your forge. They are the pressure that turns coal to diamond. And when the cycle turns, when the world finally sees, you won't just be standing, you'll be towering.
This is where warriors are made. In the silence, in the doubt, in the hours no one else can endure. Do not mistake this for punishment. This is purification. The fire that burns away the weak, the crucible that separates pretenders from predators. And most will fall. They will turn back. They will choke on the smoke and beg for comfort. But not you. If you can survive the quiet, if you can endure when no one watches, if you can bleed when no one applauds, then when the curtain finally rises, you will not just enter the arena, you will own it.
Delusion is not recklessness. It's commitment. It's a decision made every morning. I will build this future, whether you laugh, whether you doubt, whether I crawl. The world confuses delusion with foolishness, but foolishness acts without strategy. Delusion acts with relentless vision. It sacrifices now to seize later. It trades comfort for conquest. So when they call you delusional, smile. Because what they really mean is, you're willing to pay the price I was too weak to.
Everyone talks about wanting more, but the second they meet resistance, they fold. The second the path darkens, they run. The second the world laughs, they retreat. You don't run. You don't fold. You don't retreat. You double down. You look at the resistance and say, good. This means I'm close. You look at the laughter and say, good. This means I'm above their understanding. You embrace the very things that scare them, because those are the signs you're on the right path.
The world will always try to drag you back. It will weaponize fear. It will use comfort like chains. It will whisper that you're insane to want more, insane to sacrifice sleep, insane to grind when no one else is watching. But remember, the world is not your compass. The world is your resistance. Its job is to hold you back. Your job is to break through, and only the delusional ever break through.
Do you think I care what they call me? Crazy, obsessed, delusional. Say it louder. Because while you whisper, I bleed. While you doubt, I train. While you laugh, I build. You cannot shame a man who has already embraced his madness. You cannot break a man who welcomes the fire. Delusional. You're damn right. Because only the delusional can see victory before it exists. And only the delusional are willing to suffer until it's real.
Let them talk. Let them laugh. Their mockery is not a weapon, it's fuel. Their doubt is not a curse, it's proof. The noise they make is confirmation you are doing something worth fearing. Silence them not with words, but with results so undeniable they choke on their own laughter. That is the delusional path, not defense, domination.
Most people never even start. They let realism kill their dreams before they take a single step. They convince themselves the mountain is too high, so they never lift their foot. But you're already climbing, bruised, bloody, alone, but climbing. And when they look up years later and see you at the summit, they'll say, "He was lucky." But you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck, it was delusion.
Delusion is the secret weapon. It is the fire that keeps burning when logic says you're finished. It is the obsession that carries you when strength runs out. It is the voice that whispers, keep going, keep fighting, keep building. And if you listen long enough, if you endure long enough, if you refuse to break, then one day the world will stop calling you delusional. They'll call you inevitable.
So embrace it. Be delusional. Be obsessed. Be unreasonable. Be the one willing to crawl through fire, to bleed on the battlefield, to scream into the night with no answer. Because the truth is this: reality bends for no one, except the ones mad enough to refuse its limits. And that madness is not weakness, it's power.
The world filters out the weak with pain, with doubt, with delay. Most don't survive it. But the few who do, the few delusional enough to endure, they reshape reality itself. Be that few. Be the one they cannot understand until it's too late. Be the one who turns whispers into silence. Be the one who proves that delusion was vision all along.
Be delusional enough to believe in a future no one else sees. Be delusional enough to keep going when every voice tells you to quit. Be delusional enough to suffer, to sacrifice, to bleed, and still rise every morning hungrier than before. Because in the end, it's not the realists who make history, it's the madmen, the dreamers, the warriors too delusional to stop. So let them laugh, let them doubt, let them call you insane. When the dust clears, when the dream is real, when the world kneels to the empire you built, they'll call you something else. They'll call you legendary. Now like, subscribe, and get to work.